In this WrestleTalk news, there's a major surprise return planned for the Royal Rumble tonight. WWE are high on an NXT star that will be called up soon, my review of SmackDown, Tempest's review of Rampage, and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos so you can keep up to date with the latest breaking news stories like this one. Brock Lesnar slams Wee Man on a table.
Support WrestleTalk!
There's been tons of reports this year in particular about various huge Royal Rumble plans for both the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches, and even some that weren't reported on, like Sasha Banks returning from out of nowhere on last night's SmackDown and not, at the Rumble. But there might be a huge name confirmed to be in the Rumble tonight, so if you want to avoid spoilers, click ahead on the video because we're entering the Spoiler Room Brawl in 3, 2, CM Punk return to WWE, just kidding. 1. WrestlingNews.co is reporting that Paige has been cleared and will be returning in the Rumble match tonight. She's certainly been vocal on social media and getting into it with Sonya Deville in particular, so maybe she can rescue Naomi from the pits of this feud that just doesn't stop. PW Insider is also reporting that Caitlyn and Ivory are both in St. Louis, the location of the show tonight, with at least one of their sources saying that Caitlyn is penciled in to be a surprise entrant in the Rumble as well. That's it. No more potential spoilers for the Rumble. Now let's talk about someone that WWE is high on and might be appearing in the Rumble tonight. Oh god damn it! To be clear, that's just speculation on my part though. There are no reports suggesting this. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE are supposedly very high on LA Knight, and he is expected to be called up to the main roster this spring, potentially after WrestleMania. Knight is currently in a feud with Grayson Waller on NXT, and he also has a restraining order against him. It's a bit weird. Knight has been having dark matches on the main roster as of late and defeated Cedric Alexander on this week's episode of Main Event 2. Regarding NXT, the newsletter also reports that there's talk of having more main roster stars appearing on NXT 2.0 to help out the show. If only you had stars in their own right that didn't have to have the main roster talent come down to help out. What'd you do with them all? Oh yeah, they're gone now. WWE are also reportedly considering signing independent wrestlers to 6-week contracts to also appear on NXT and help out their developmental talent. But it's not just NXT that might be getting these short-term appearances, because Fox also reportedly likes the idea of having more cameos like the ones Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett did on SmackDown last week. So, ineffectual ones then. The idea being that it would create buzz as people wondered who's next. The issue with that though is you need to make the cameos meaningful in some way, otherwise it's just kinda superficial and no one will care. Just a thought. And now it's time for my review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. This go-home episode for the Royal Rumble began with Charlotte Flair doing a promo in the ring selling the Rumble match, and then out came Shayna Baszler, and then out came Aaliyah, and then out came Natalya, and then out came Shotzi. Hey, Shotzi, where have you been? And then surprisingly, out came Sasha Banks, earlier than expected, and it's good to see her back. Wait, it's the go-home episode for the Rumble. Why not just have a return at the Rumble? The match where the surprises happen. Well, anyway, people fight, but no one gets thrown over the top rope. Come on, guys! Except Charlotte, who's thrown over by Banks to stand tall. This was fine, I suppose. The promos were mostly uninspired, but it at least tried to build the Rumble match, and there's another exciting name in the match, so that's something, right? The last 2 weeks, Sheamus has beaten Ricochet as revenge for him breaking Ridge Holland's nose. So this week, it's Ridge Holland's turn to face Ricochet, and also Cesaro in a tag team match. Cesaro, who was Mansoor's tag team partner a couple weeks ago. Where's Mansoor been, actually? Ridge Holland was gifted the old face mask Sheamus wore after he broke his nose. Thank you for the side-by-side WWE, I wouldn't have made the connection otherwise, which did not fit his face properly or something, as he kept having to readjust it during the match, but he managed to win with a headbutt to Cesaro with the mask. I'm glad Ridge finally got his revenge on Ricochet by pitting Cesaro. And then finally we got something everyone has wanted for weeks and weeks and weeks. No, not Walter changing his name back. No, not an end to the Naomi and Sonya Deville feud. We got the Royal Rumble It's All About the Numbers video package. About bloody time, lads. Though there was a line that made me laugh when it said the amount of surprises was infinite, which is just factually incorrect based on the entrance for each match. There's actually 12 surprises due tonight, but who's counting? Me. I'm counting. Naomi then faced Sonya Deville in the culmination of their months-long feud where Deville has been constantly hindering Naomi at every turn, though not explaining why, and Naomi has already tried to face her once and that didn't end clean, so why would we expect anything different this time? But end clean it did. Deville tried to bribe the referee before the match, but he said he's going to call it down the middle, and Naomi won after a little bit. Rear view into a split-legged moonsault, and thank the Lord, this feud is done. Naomi did a promo afterwards saying it's been 153 days that Deville has been after her. That's since the Friday 27th episode of SmackDown, by the way. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I didn't say the month, silly me. August! Friday the 27th of August! CM Punk came back to wrestling the week before that. SummerSlam was that week. All Out was the week after, where we saw Danielson debut in AEW, who's already gone through a whole character arc and has had multiple world title matches, and we were still stuck on step 1 of this feud until this week. But it's fine. It's fine, because it's over now. Wait, no. Sonya, why are you getting a microphone? Sonya, why are you putting a jacket on? This feud is over. Sonya. Sonya Deville then said she had a surprise for Naomi and she's announced herself for the Women's Royal Rumble. This feud must continue. The Usos and Viking Raiders had a backstage promo where the Raiders said they're smelly. Great stuff. Sami Zayn then had the next episode of Insane, where he's changed the format to a live podcast in the ring, and his first guests were Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Wonderful. They were eventually interrupted by Nakamura and Boogs, and Nakamura did one whole kick to Sami. Woo! You go, Nakamura, stamp that authority. One kick, come on, man. It was then Mahal and Shanky versus Nakamura and Boogs, and Nakamura didn't tag into this match. Maybe he still got something up with his hand injury, I don't know. But Boogs won single-handedly anyway because they know who the real star is here, not your Intercontinental Champion. It's the guy they keep calling Freddie Mercury. Raw star Big E and Kofi Kingston were then together again, reunited, and it feels so good, etc., ignoring the fact they were reunited last week, but let's not talk about the details. Big E was asked if he was excited to be back on the blue brand, and he responded, "Does a bear shed in the woods?" No, it doesn't, but nice try. Commentary mentioned that he was officially back on the blue brand, but it was unclear whether that just meant returning for this tag match or he's actually been swapped back to SmackDown for realsies. But how can he? It's not the draft, WWE. He and Kingston beat Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin in a match. I have quite literally nothing else to say. Seth and Roman then main evented the show with their face-to-face segment, like their face-to-face segment last week. This was pretty good though, as Seth once again brought up his winning record in title matches against Roman, which Roman brushed off, but then once Seth brought up splitting up the Shield, there was a side of vulnerability that Roman showed. He's not forgiven Seth for what he did, and Seth played into that, exposing his insecurities around it. They really leaned into the Seth has Roman's number angle, with Seth even dodging another Superman punch to end the segment, which means Roman's winning, I assume. This is the first time since Roman's heel turn he's actually showed some kind of like weakness or vulnerability that wasn't just getting ambushed or surprise attacked, but an actual like psychological weakness, mind games and such. And I like that it's Seth that's the one who's exposing him. I'm really looking forward to their match tonight. And that was the show. Let me know what you guys thought by voting in our poll on a poll match on our community tab, where 74% of you voted for Roman showing vulnerability. Say it ain't so. This episode of SmackDown was largely fine. It wasn't terrible, but a lot of it did feel like a bit of a waste of time, with all 3 tag matches, Deville and Naomi reaching a conclusion and then still going, etc. But I thought the Seth Roman segment was a very good end to the show. This episode gets a 3 out of 5, smack bang in the middle. And now over to Tempest for his review of last night's episode of Rampage.
They're ass boys. What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? Tempest is back with another review of AEW Rampage in about 3 minutes. So this show kicked off with another one-on-one match, this time between Jon Moxley and Anthony Bowens. Jon Moxley's continued to look great since his return, and Anthony Bowens is a really solid pro wrestler. This really shouldn't be a surprise with the last year and a half of the Acclaim being on TV, but once they start racking up a few wins, they've really started to gel together as a team and as an act, and they could go a long way in AEW. That being said, this match was about Jon Moxley once again getting his feet back under him, and the Acclaimed were able to double team him a few times, times as Anthony Bowens tried to hit him with a chain shot behind the referee's back, but Jon Moxley was able to hit the paradigm shift and get the win. Another big win since his return as Daniel Bryan, damn it, I did it again, it's been like 6 months, as Bryan Danielson looked on from the back. I'm really looking forward to the eventual match Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson are going to have together, and every time Anthony Bowens or Max Caster go out there these days, they continue to show why they are an integral part of the future of the AEW tag division. This was a very fun way to open up the show. This gets a 4 out of 5. We then got a pretty long tag match as FTR took on Brock Anderson and Lee Johnson. This was the match that was supposed to take place like a week ago, but then someone got COVID or something happened. It's very difficult times we're living in. It's hard to keep track. There wasn't a lot of heat for this match, mostly just because Brock Anderson and Lee Johnson haven't been featured on TV that much, but FTR are still a fantastic tag team, and a lot of their heel work helped get the crowd into this match as much as they were going to. Lee Johnson took a number of really tough falls in this match, and Brock Anderson continued to show that while he is still green, he is a competent pro wrestler, and FTR managed to reverse a big move into the stuffed pile driver for the win. I really don't know what the plans are for FTR moving forward. They don't match up with another team in the AEW tag division at the moment, but they're too big of an act to waste, so unless you're bringing in the Briscoes to do their big dream match in AEW, they're just kind of floating around right now. As a tag match, this was fine, but it wasn't terribly heated. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. We then had the TBS Championship match as Jade Cargill defended against Julia Hart. Now, while the recent Jade Cargill Anna Jay match went far and beyond the expectations that a lot of people had, having a very good main event match on Rampage last week, this match was a bit more in line with people's expectations. That's not to say it was bad by any means, but this match was definitely less crisp than last week's match, and Julia Hart got in a lot less offense than Anna Jay did. This was a much more dominant performance from Jade as she was able to hit Jaded for the win in about 5 minutes. There wasn't a whole lot to this match, but I'll give it a 3 out of 5 as they continue to make Jade Cargill look like a strong champion. Julia Hart's taking off that eye patch at some point, and you know what she's gonna have. That's right, the Sharingan. And then we had the main event AEW World Tag Team Championship match as Jurassic Express defended against Private Party. It's really interesting to consider that these two tag teams have basically been with AEW since the company's launch and have really only started hitting their stride as two teams lately. This shows that you can get better as time goes on. What a novel concept. This match was a lot of fun as Jurassic Express were hit with gin and juice right out of the gate for a near fall, and they just kept that energy going. Private Party managed to hit the silly string. It always seems like they get countered when they go for that move these days, and eventually Jurassic Express was able to hit their crazy flipping powerbomb finish for the win. This was another really solid title defense for Jurassic Express, and if they're able to tie a few more of these together in the near future, their title reign will really stand out as a very solid one, even if it doesn't last that long. That's not to say they're going to lose the tag titles in the near future, but I mean, there's a pay-per-view coming in a month. Could happen. And after the match, the Ass family hit the ring and attacked Jurassic Express, holding up the tag titles as we went off the air. I do not have a whole lot of interest in this match, I gotta be honest. Hopefully Austin and Colton Gunn will finally get to break through and show a little bit of something in the eventual tag title match that they have with Jurassic Express, but until then, I'm not particularly looking forward to this, and I thought this was a fairly lame way to go off the air, even though the main event match was pretty great. I won't let the post-match angle bring the rating down in this case. The main event will get a 4 out of 5, and the overall show will get a 3 out of 5. It was another fun show, just nothing you really need to go out of your way to see. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this week's show, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk Podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper Pete will be breaking down both shows in complete detail. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this week's show and last night's SmackDown, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk Podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper Pete will be breaking down both shows in complete detail. And then make sure you check out our live reactions for the Royal Rumble, where Pete will take home the Jam That Championship, and I will win the Royal Jamble and earn my place in the main event of WrestleJamia. Jam that jam, motherfucker.
It's the Royal Jamble tonight, where not only will I be facing Luke in DAD for the Jam That Championship, but we're going to have a Royal Jamble match. Well, 2 Royal Jamble matches where we're going to have loads of people competing for a chance at the Jam That Championship at WrestleJamia, and one of those people that's in that match is none other than my LIW brethren himself, Tempest. So subscribe to the WrestleTalk Podcast YouTube channel to watch our live reactions tonight.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. This is Canada, and I'm Tempest, and I'm here to announce my entry into this year's Royal Jamble. The Royal Rumble is going to be an all LIW event as Pete captures the Jam That Championship and I earn my shot to face him at WrestleJamia. It's going to be an all LIW event because LIW for life.
It's the most rumbleful time of the year. Nothing WWE can do can dim my enthusiasm of the Royal Rumble, and this year is no different. In fact, it is the first time in forever that the fans have been in attendance for the Royal Rumble. I am so excited.